Okay, Coach, if you'd give us an opening statement, then we'll go into some questions.
Sure. Thanks, Patrick. Obviously, we're here in Indianapolis. We've been here since the Big Ten tournament. We've gone through our protocol of quarantining and testing every day. We've had 2 practices. We got out of quarantine yesterday afternoon, and we're able to practice late yesterday afternoon and again today. So we're excited to be here. Obviously, I'm extremely proud of our guys for making this the 21st out of the last 22nd year of being in the NCAA tournament. As I've told them leading into this is unique in terms of what we've had to come through this year to get to this point. So I want them to embrace it, enjoy it, but also congratulate them because this is not easy to get to this point. Obviously, this year's presented a few more obstacles than normal, but like I said, they're excited. We've had 2 good days of practice. Looking forward to playing a very good and improving North Carolina team that's, I think, playing their best basketball of the year, watching the film that I've watched to this point. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thanks, Coach. We'll start with Jeff Petrikis.
Yeah, Jeff Petrikis from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Greg, if you look at their overall three-point numbers, they're not that great, but Walton looks to be a pretty dangerous guy. How much have you talked to your players about him during the prep so far about not letting him get open looks from 3?
Yeah, I mean, he's very familiar to us because he's from Minnesota. He played with Stephen Crowell and Ben Carlson on the same AAU team. So they obviously know who Kerwin Walton is, and so do we. He's not the only one. I think R.J. Davis has shot it better lately, and others have shot it. They've hit timely threes. Caleb Love has made some timely ones as well in the films that I've watched. Like I said, I think as a team they're playing better, and they've had a pause or 2 from COVID, so that's kind of disrupted their flow. But obviously Walton's he shoots it really well, just like he did when we were watching him when he was in high school.
Up next, we'll go to Steve McGargy.
Thank you. Steve McGargy, Associated Press. I'm just wondering, while y'all are in Indianapolis kind of just playing the waiting game, aside from like the usual things, film study, video games, whatever, what are y'all doing to occupy the time, make sure just not go stir crazy while you're waiting these few days?
Yeah, Sunday night and part of Monday, we couldn't do anything. We were quarantined to our rooms other than testing, and all meals were delivered to their rooms individually. Since then, we were able to utilize it. The NCAA has done a phenomenal job from everything I've seen so far. They do have weight facilities or a area in the convention center that the teams can rotate through for different weight workouts. So we were able to do that today prior to our practice. So we were able to get a lift in. And then, like I mentioned yesterday, we had 90 minutes on court. They have 12 courts set up in the convention center. They're all individualized and all secluded from the others, so you don't have any intermixing of teams or anything like that. The traffic flow in terms of people walking or teams walking from the hotels to the convention center is all controlled and individualized by team. And the same thing with the weight facility, which is in the convention center. So that's been, that was today. We're still, everybody's in their own room. We minimize the time as a group. We've only done verbal things in terms of North Carolina. With the players, we will do film as we continue through the week, but the staff, obviously, myself and Coach Krabenoff as the scout have dove deep already into North Carolina. So, they've hung in the rooms. We do have a team room here in the hotel that they do have cornhole set up. They've been playing ping pong, things like that they can go down and hang out in there a little bit from time to time.
Jim Polzine.
Jim Polzine, Wisconsin State Journal. Greg, Ben Carlson was dressed last week, and I know there was some footage of him practicing. Just curious, is he cleared to play? And against a really big team, could you use him in a pinch if necessary?
I think Jim, he's missed so much. He's just getting back into contact practicing, and that's even been limited in some regards. He hasn't gotten, he hasn't taken a full dose. He did practice. He was full go today for the first time, really, of getting all the reps and things. Yesterday, we really didn't do a whole lot of contact stuff. Today was live. So I just think he's, he's been out of the rhythm of it for so long that I don't know if that's a good position to put him in, I think, more than anything else.
Next, we'll go to CL Brown.
Hi, Coach CL Brown with the Raleigh News and Observer. You guys obviously have a very experienced team, but not necessarily a NCAA tournament experienced team because of being canceled last season. I was curious, is there a difference, or is it because you guys have played in so many big games and games with certainly high stakes games even in the regular season that has a carryover to the postseason?
Well, you hope it does. I think that's, the one thing about the tournament, it really doesn't matter what you've done prior, because it's only about it's one game. So it's not a series. And that's the thing that makes this, why that sign, that's the banner that's behind me, March Madness, because it's just the 40 minutes. So regardless of whether you come in on a roll, you come in with rhythm, high stakes, whatever that you've gone through before, it's still about the next 40 minutes. And that's really all that matters, because you're not going to play well. You don't play well for a stretch and it's over. You play well and there's upsets. Obviously, we've seen that through the years. So I don't know if it's really, this group even had high stakes games a year ago. So on our run to the Big Ten championship. So it was continue to win and stay in the race. So I think the experience helps you to a degree, but then it still boils down to how you play in the upcoming 40 minutes.
Josh Schaefer, you're next.
Josh Schaefer, Badger 24/7. Yeah, Greg, I was just curious, with North Carolina obviously being a good post team, and they have probably 4 good post players that stand out and a lot of good rebounding. Does that compare to anyone that you guys have seen in the Big Ten when it comes to post presence, or is what they do a little bit different than some of the Big Ten teams this year?
I don't know if it's a whole lot different. Obviously, their numbers jump out in terms of offensive rebounding. I think they get 41% of their misses, is what I was told today. So you get a lot of their 10% of their points comes off putbacks. So that's that we see teams that are like that. Iowa gets on the glass pretty well. Michigan State has done that in the past and gotten on the glass pretty well. So it's a similarity. There's some similar tendencies and traits to teams we see in our league as well, in terms of transition, making sure we're getting guys back, making sure we're getting our defense set, and obviously the ability to minimize second chance opportunities.
Mark Armstrong.
Hey, Mark Armstrong with Carolina. I'm sure you're aware, Roy Williams has never lost a first-round game, which is kind of a remarkable stat. Now, many of those games, they're obviously heavily favored, but several of them they haven't been. What does that speak to in your mind in terms of how he gets his teams prepared for these games?
Well, one, he's had really good teams, whether he's been at Kansas or at North Carolina. So that's part of it, and obviously he's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, has he won 900 yet, or is it still in the 800s?
Oh, he's in the 900s now.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's been doing it for a long time, and obviously had tremendous success at both places. But, I think it's a combination. I think it's obviously always having good teams, but also him doing a good job of preparing them and putting him in that position.
Next, we'll go to Kip Coons.
Hi, Greg. I was going to ask you about the size too. Josh kind of stole my question, but along those lines, Roy plays a lot of players. He'll go 10, 11 deep. In the tournament setting, does that make a difference having that kind of depth? And how would you coach against that?
Well, we've seen other teams that go deep. Iowa played 11 or 12 before Jack Nunge got hurt. So it probably, it helps you in a position of playing that second game. If the winner advances, if the team with more depth advances with a one-day turnaround, maybe it helps you in that regard. It helps you in terms of foul situations. So I think that's, every program, every year is a little different. There's some years we've played 7, there's some years we've played 9. This year I'm kind of with 8, just based on where this group has grown to. So, I think it's really about what your team, I think he's got a mix of, younger guys and older guys and 4 post players. And I know Kessler's played better here lately and come on. So, I think it gives him a lot of options. And, but I think it's really, from what each coach or what each program feels comfortable doing. And for us, it sometimes varies from year to year.
Let's go next to Deanna King. Deanna, do you still have a question? While we wait for her, we'll go to a follow-up from Jeff Patrikas.
Yeah, Greg, given the fact that they do have a lot of post guys, in your film set review, do they play 2 bigs at once at times, or what are their combinations that they prefer?
2 bigs all the time.
Deanna King, are you there? Would you like to ask your question? Okay, we'll move on to Raul Vasquez.
Raul Vasquez with Badger Blitz. Hey, Greg, I was wondering, with North Carolina playing kind of a more traditional 2 big lineup, would you guys, and you've talked about kind of reverting to just 1 big lineup since most teams don't use a traditional format anymore, would you be able to kind of use both Nate and Mike in the same lineups in this game?
Yes, we could. Yep. And we've talked about that and worked with that. So that's definitely a possibility.
We have time for one more question. Are there any follow-up questions at this time for head coach Greg Gard? We have time for one more. Okay, CL Brown, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, I was just kind of curious. I mean, you guys have been in Indianapolis an extended stay now. And you mentioned kind of the games that, cornhole and stuff that they're able to play at the hotel. But how are you keeping this from being just a weird experience? I saw the pictures of, the sidewalks even in front of the hotels in Indy being blocked off. And, it just seems like in extreme isolation. I mean, obviously we understand the circumstances, but how do you keep things fresh with these guys?
Well, I mean, the Big Ten tournament was a little different. It was a little more lax. We could leave the hotel. We can't leave the hotel now until we walk to our practice site. We'll practice tomorrow night, I believe, at Mackey. So we'll have a bus ride to Mackey tomorrow night. They have film they can watch on their own. They obviously have school. So that's another component to this, that they're taking care of their academics. There was a really intense spike ball game going last night too, 2-on-2 stuff. So I stayed out of the way. Guys were going to get hurt, or I was going to get hurt if I tried to get involved with that. So that's one of the other things, other than the bag game and ping pong. Ping pong table came in today. A spike ball it drew a crowd. It was definitely really intense. I didn't realize some of our players are so good at it and how intense it got. But Trevor Anderson claims he's the best spike ball player on the team.
With that, thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
All right, thank you, guys.